Split Happens, a podcast sponsored by Sasso Guerrero and Tenderlight, explores the emotional and legal challenges of divorce, offering insight and real-world advice to help families navigate change with clarity, compassion, and resilience.
I'm Katie Garner.
And I'm Jay Henderlight. I'm a board-certified marital and family law attorney at Sasso Guerrero and Henderlight, and this
is Split Happens. And we're here today because, we're covering a topic that I'm excited about. I'm not even married, okay? But we've all gone through breakups, right? And they hurt. And sometimes you feel like you're sitting in this puddle of like mush and you're never gonna get out of it. And so we were talking today about tools that you can use for your mental health because whether it's, a pound of chocolate or a little therapy or a little Jesus, there's a lot you can do. But you need to do it because you get overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you've got any upset in your life, meaning things are upsetting or things are in flux, you're gonna feel that feeling of just overwhelm and like you're out of control. Mm-hmm. And the only way to really get out of that feeling or to move from that feeling of just sort of distress to something where you start to feel more like you're back in control of your life is you gotta do things for you. You gotta find ways to get out of your head.
One time, you'll remember this because Jay and I go way back. I bought a golf cart for me.
Yes.
When I went through a breakup, I bought a golf cart. Was that necessary? No, one too many zeros at the end of that check. But you can also just buy yourself something pretty on Amazon.
Retail therapy is, I don't think, recognized in the DSM-5 as a legitimate means of improving your well-being or mental health. I'm not saying I'm above it necessarily, but that isn't perhaps the most useful or the best course of action. But before we get to what you should do, I would like to bring up a few things that are perhaps counterproductive that I have seen that you really shouldn't engage in.
Have you seen me do these? Or?
Social media stalking, particularly of your soon-to-be ex and or every person he or she has ever talked to, or every person he or she has ever dated.
Yeah.
I understand the desire to do it, but in terms of helping you get to that place where you feel like you are taking back control of your life and moving on, not going to help.
Not going to help, because if you see their every little story, it's going to build anxiety. It's not good.
It's not
Been there,
good.
done it.
Getting out the spray paint and spray painting angry messages on other people's property.
Didn't somebody, we don't have to tell the story, but didn't you know of someone that did that?
I'm perhaps drawing on experiences that I am familiar with. Also, I do like Carrie Underwood, but if you take your key and carve your name into a card, that is in fact criminal mischief and will not make you feel better, but may well end you up in jail.
You carve your name into my Beamer and you're going to jail. That's it. That's like not an easy fix.
Yeah.
It's upsetting.
It's not great. It's not great. So, we talked about this in the first episode, and Split Happens is our way of trying to help people understand that going through a breakup, going through a divorce happens to a lot of us. In fact, the stats are that it happens to most of us, right? Mm-hmm. So it's something we're all going to have to go through. So what's the way to do it the most productively, the way in which you can get from that awful place of overwhelm, of stress, of just feeling like the worst version of yourself, to the place where at the end you can take back control of your life and create the life that you want to lead, right?
Well, and I think there used to be such a stigma on therapy years ago, and now everybody goes to therapy. It's the cool thing to do.
Look, therapy is great.
Yeah.
I almost always recommend that clients talk to therapists. If you're going through a breakup, if you're going through any kind of major life event, it doesn't have to be a breakup. You want somebody you can bounce ideas off of. Sometimes just saying the thoughts in your head out loud to somebody else, it takes their power away. It helps you build perspective that, perhaps the feelings that you're feeling aren't really the facts or the reality or the best course of action.
They say anxiety, 80% of it is stuff in your head that's not really going to happen. Right. So like in divorce, I just think it's interesting because even in breakups, you're like, well, am I going to get this? Am I going to get that? And in divorce, I know a friend of mine just got divorced and she was like, I'm going to be on the streets. And I'm like, but you're not, but your anxiety does that. And then her therapist was really able to bring it down. And she was like, okay, like I'm going to be okay, you know?
Right. And
very cool.
Fear is the underlying basis of anxiety for the most part. Anxiety is just a manifestation of fear, as is anger for a lot of us. So an acronym I always keep in mind is FEAR, false evidence appearing real. So much of what motivates us to act on anger or act on anxiety is that we're afraid of something, and it's usually something that only exists in our head and not in reality.
That's a
and so
great
finding
point.
ways to really clear that up or figure that out, it's really, really important. So absolutely therapy is one. Another big one that I've found useful for me is try to find some way to get you out of your own head. So it can be mindfulness, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, any of those things. I don't do any of them. That's not what I do. I've heard
failed
they're
yoga
great.
in college. I hate yoga, but people love
Right.
yoga. You know, it's too quiet for me. I can't.
But if you've thought about starting one of those things, it's probably a pretty good time to do it.
Yeah,
You know, it's-
meditation's huge. Everybody's like meditating these days. There's all kinds of apps. You can do like a 1 minute meditation. I did it the other day. It really centered me
Right.
for a good 10 minutes. Then something else happened.
Apps
you
on
know?
the phone, acts of service too, even if they're small. Just something to get you not thinking about all of the unknowns. Volunteering can be good. Even just calling up friends and seeing how they're doing and asking for them to kind of share their thoughts or experiences or what's going on in their day. Just something to kind of clear out those cobwebs or clear out the just all the stuff weighing on your mind.
One time, a friend of mine was getting divorced, and she got this idea that we should all go for a bike ride. So she was like, let's take a 10-mile bike ride for the sake of her mental health. And I'm a friend, right? I'm going to do it. We got a friend divorce after that. I was done.
You do want to do a 10-mile bike ride?
Whatever you got to do for some, but it was good because it was like, we did the bike ride. You know, I don't work out, but then she was able to talk a lot. And then she said she felt renewed because she was like, I just talked it out and I felt better. Nothing really got solved, but it was good.
Plus, exercise is great for producing endorphins. And as we know, endorphins make you happy, and happy people enjoy divorcing their husbands.
Happy people want that alimony.
Right.
Hey.
No, it's not that, and I'm misquoting Legally Blonde, trademark, but starting just some way to help you get out of yourself. So exercise is another great way to do it, even if it's something simple like walking. Keep a pair of shoes by the door and just put them on and go for a walk around the block, around your neighborhood. Just some way of getting some movement, getting some energy, getting some fresh air. All that stuff is going to help. And then another thing that I would like to recommend, because this is what I do for my own well-being, in fact, I did it this morning, is, when I'm in that place of feeling stuck or feeling like I can't figure out what the next course of action is, it's really helpful to write it down.
Yes,
I know
yeah.
we've talked about this before, but if you write down what you want to do or what you want to be different, some tangible act or some tangible goal that you can set for today. Before the end of the day, you want this accomplished. Before tomorrow, you want to address this. Or, before next week is over, I want to, do one thing for mindfulness, do one thing for exercise. Write out a plan. And it can be a very basic plan. But the way, or the most effective way that I've found to help people or to help myself get out of that feeling of not knowing what to do next or feeling like there's so much going on that you don't know what to do, that sort of analysis paralysis, is set just very simple, easy goals for you to achieve. And then when you achieve them, scratch it off.
Yeah.
And it trains your mind just to start getting back to control, getting back to that place where you're taking back ownership of your life. Because when you get there, when you start at that spot, that's how you start to figure out, this is how I can create the life I want. This is how I can figure out who I'm supposed to be.
That's huge. That's huge. That's a strong point, writing it down and journaling. And also, sometimes, and I really want you guys to hear this, when you're going through the worst moment of your life, like a divorce, and you're in it, and maybe you just, filed or you met with somebody, then it's like, take it minute by minute if you have to. Take it hour by hour. It doesn't have to be a whole thing where you're like, this week. I love what you said about writing it down just for the day or for the week, because it is true. Sometimes you have to take it hour by hour just to emotionally get through it. But it does get better.
Right.
I mean, it really does get better.
Yeah, big picture, 100% of the time, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
The way you feel it at the front end is the worst you're going to feel, and it's not how you're going to feel forever, how you're going to feel when it's over.
Yeah.
But it's also not going to be a quick process, both in terms of how long it's going to take to disentangle from the relationship and to work it out perhaps through the legal process, but also how long it's going to take you personally, to kind of get to that, from the point of being stressed and anxious and unknown, and to get to the place where you're empowered and making or taking concrete steps to reclaim and redevelop your life. So everyone will get there. I mean, hear me when I say everyone is going to get there, even though you don't think that's true. But finding ways to help you help yourself, help you get to that place and get out of those negative emotions, that's more than anything else that happens, or more than anything else you can do for yourself during this process. It's the best thing you can do.
The best thing you can do. And God, like being an adult, it's hard sometimes because I've learned about attachment styles and patterns and all this other stuff you've got to grieve and get through and understand. And that's why sometimes you just got to center it. I got to center it.
Yeah, we all wanted our brains to fully form and fully mature, and it turns out.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that wasn't so great after all, because now you have all these emotions and all of these complicated feelings you got to work through and take ownership of. And it can feel overwhelming sometimes.
Well, and it does not surprise, in just reading I've done and stuff, even before we started this podcast, in how common divorce can be, because people are so complex and so different. So it's also not something that you need to wake up and say, I blame myself or I failed. Nothing is a failure, not if you come out of it better and better, in a better mindset than you started in.
Well, certainly nothing is that binary, right? There's nothing that's, good or bad, pass or fail.
Yeah.
Life is life. It's complicated. It's nuanced. It's a series of everyone making the best decision they can under the circumstances, the information they had at the time, and kind of seeing how it turns out. So, finding ways to get past those feelings of, I failed, this is bad, conclusions that are not grounded in reality, but inevitably make you feel like everything's about to fall apart.
Well, I think self-talk is real too. I really do. I think, I'm sure when people come to you and they're so down on their luck and they're down and out, and for good reason, that's where they are when they start. But self-talk is huge. For me, prayer is huge. Everybody has their different journey that way in their spiritual healing. But I think who you talk to, who you surround yourself with is huge. I always say your vibe is your tribe. You know what I mean? If you've got a good tribe, you're going to have a good vibe eventually. People do get tired of venting. I think we have very good friends around us. I think my friends that are divorced have a very good group. So venting is great, but eventually venting can hinder you when you're just venting about the same thing over and over.
Right.
So that's, I think, why self-talk and really reflection, meditation. You know what helps too? I've learned, just go stand on the grass barefooted. Just touch grass, All
kinds of things. And, it's different things are more helpful to different people, and it's sort of getting to know who you are, getting to know what works best. And it is a process, but if you can just try something once a day, try to get into a routine just to help you get past that feeling, you're going to feel better. And feeling better really is the end goal, because like we said, it's going to work out great.
It's going to work out great. You're going to be great. Jay, tell everybody, what's one thing they could do today to be great?
Well, one thing you can do today to be great is just reward yourself for showing up. You're here, you did it. You are going to be the best version of yourself.
So we know all these tools are going to be very helpful. And I think, for us, it's from personal experience and experience with people we know and people that you've dealt with from a job perspective. It's really interesting. So all this stuff that we've given you, we're not just pulling it out of nowhere. We hope it works for you. We hope you try it. And we love that you listen to our podcast. We love you.
Thanks. Bye.